No one came to her birthday. Not one call, not one message, not one candle lit by anyone who claimed to love her, except the one she'd lit herself, alone, in a penthouse office 40 floors above a city that owed her everything and gave her nothing back. Before we dive into Amara's story, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in people who show up when the world walks away, hit that like button, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that hope still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss a story like this one. Amara Whitfield built her company from a garage with a leaking roof and a laptop she couldn't afford to fix. 15 years later, her name sat on the top floor of a glass tower in the heart of downtown, engraved on a door that read Chief Executive Officer. She had done what people said was impossible. She had done it as a black woman in an industry that rarely made room for her, and she had done it after the accident that took the use of her legs 3 years ago, when a drunk driver ran a red light and changed her life in 4 seconds flat. She rebuilt her company from a hospital bed. She rebuilt her body through 18 months of therapy that left her sobbing on gym mats more nights than she could count. What she never quite rebuilt was the circle of people who used to call her friend. The board members sent flowers on her birthday. Her assistant sent a calendar reminder. Her ex-husband, who left 4 months after the accident because, in his words, he hadn't signed up to push a wheelchair for the rest of his life, sent nothing at all. Her own sister, busy with her own family 3 states away, sent a text that said "Happy birthday sis, love you," followed by nothing else, no call, no visit, just silence dressed up as affection. Amara had reserved a table at the restaurant on the 52nd floor of her own building, the one with the wraparound windows that turned the whole skyline into a postcard. She had invited 12 people. She had ordered a cake with white buttercream and her name written in careful cursive icing. She sat at that table for 40 minutes, watching the door, watching her phone, watching the candles burn down into small pools of wax while the city glittered indifferently below her like it hadn't even noticed she existed. She had faced hostile takeovers without flinching. She had testified in front of shareholders who doubted a woman in a wheelchair could still run a billion-dollar company, and she had silenced every one of them with numbers that spoke louder than their pity. But nothing in her boardroom battles had prepared her for the particular ache of sitting completely alone in a room built for celebration, watching a candle burn toward its wick with no one there to see her blow it out. She had learned to survive humiliation in business. She had never learned how to survive this kind of loneliness, the kind that doesn't announce itself with a single dramatic blow but simply arrives quietly, one missed birthday at a time, until you look around one day and realize the applause you worked so hard for was never really about you at all. That was when Malik Turner walked in, holding his 6-year-old daughter's hand, both of them a little lost, having wandered up from a business dinner on the floor below to find the restroom their waiter had pointed them toward. Malik was a single father, a contractor who had spent the last 2 years raising his daughter Zuri alone after losing his wife to illness, working double shifts to keep their small apartment and still make it to every school recital he could. He wasn't the kind of man who belonged in a restaurant with a view like this one. He'd only agreed to the dinner meeting because a client offered to pay, and he'd brought Zuri along because he couldn't afford a sitter and refused to leave her home alone even for an hour. Zuri was the one who noticed Amara first. Children have a way of seeing loneliness that adults have trained themselves to walk past. She tugged her father's sleeve and pointed toward the woman sitting by herself at a table meant for 12, in front of a cake with candles burning low, her eyes fixed on the window instead of the room, her jaw tight the way people's jaws get tight when they are trying very hard not to cry in public. Malik followed his daughter's gaze and understood immediately what he was looking at. He had learned, in the 2 years since his wife died, to recognize grief wearing a brave face, because he saw it in the mirror every single morning. He didn't have to do what he did next. He could have found the restroom and gone back downstairs and finished his meeting and gone home to put his daughter to bed, and no one would have thought less of him for it. Instead, he crouched down and asked Zuri if she wanted to sing happy birthday to a stranger, and when his daughter's face lit up with the simple, uncomplicated joy that only children still carry so easily, he walked them both over to Amara's table. He introduced himself, apologized for intruding, and asked if it would be all right if they sang to her, because his daughter insisted no one should ever have to blow out candles alone. Amara didn't answer right away. She hadn't expected kindness from a stranger on the one night she'd stopped expecting kindness from anyone at all. But she nodded, and Zuri began to sing in that off-key, wholehearted way only a 6-year-old can manage, and within seconds 3 other tables full of strangers had turned to watch, and then to join in, and by the time the song ended half the restaurant was singing to a woman most of them had never met, because a little girl and her tired, kind father had decided that no one should sit alone with a cake and no one to share it with. Amara blew out the candles with tears sliding freely down her face, not tears of sadness anymore but something closer to disbelief, the particular shock of being seen after months of feeling invisible. Malik and Zuri stayed for cake. They talked for 2 hours, about the accident, about Zuri's mother, about the strange loneliness that can live inside even the most successful lives, and about how easy it is to mistake being surrounded by people for actually being known by them. Amara offered Malik a contract for his construction business before the night ended, not out of pity but because she recognized in him something she valued more than credentials, a man who chose to do the right thing when absolutely nothing required him to. What started as one unexpected birthday became the beginning of something neither of them saw coming, a friendship that deepened into partnership, into family, into the kind of love that doesn't arrive with fireworks but with someone simply choosing, again and again, to show up. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might need it today, because stories like Amara's remind us that kindness can find us in our darkest hour. And before you go, do us one small favor. Comment the word kindness below, so we know this story reached you, and so someone else scrolling past might stop and read it too. No one came to Amara's birthday that night. But the one person who did changed everything, and proved that sometimes the family we're searching for isn't the one we're born into, but the one that simply decides, without being asked, to stay.